Good evening, everybody. It's 7 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Town of Warren's annual town meeting for June 12, 2025. Please, at this time, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're over here this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a couple of things, procedures and things to go over, and the town administrator had asked if he can address the meeting in a few minutes, so I just want to remind everybody that when you came in, you should have received your clicker for voting. If you don't, make sure you go out and get one. Non-registered voters should be sitting to the outside rows of the auditorium. Registered voters should be sitting in the center. When we read motions, I will be reading again all the motions this evening. I will call for a second. So moved in a second, and then we will open up the floor for discussion. I'm hoping that this is a little bit of clarity for you, and you guys will hear me a little bit better than in the past. If anybody needs to address myself or has a question, we'd ask that you please come to the microphone in the center. If you're not able to, elderly, handicap, if you could just stand. I know a lot of you in here and you have big voices. I'm sure we'll be able to hear you, and if not, I'll gladly repeat it. But if you could come to the microphone, if you're anticipating having to speak, it would be greatly appreciated. This meeting is both televised, going out live, and being recorded at this time. And I've been notified by the town clerk that the warrant has been duly posted and returned, and we have met the quorum requirements, so we will be able to conduct the town's business this evening. With that being said, before we begin and before I turn it over to the town administrator, I would just like to make one motion, and I'd like to make a motion to recognize Chief Millett if he needs to address the body this evening. So I have a motion to recognize Chief Millett if he needs to speak. Do I have a second? Motion so moved. Do I have a second? Motion made and second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Great. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to the town administrator, Mr. Ferreira. He wants to make a few announcements to you.
Thank you, Dario, and good evening, everybody. Fiscal year 2025 has been a very busy but productive year for the town. We have celebrated many accomplishments together. Here are some of the ones I'd like to highlight for you tonight. Just in fiscal year 2025, well over $1 million was awarded to the town in state and federal grants. All town departments contributed to this great accomplishment. Let's give that a round of applause. New computers were purchased for all administrative offices. This update was needed to meet the needs of Windows 11, with 50% of the cost paid for by a state grant, which was secured by the town. Improvements to town buildings. I want to personally thank and commend our state representative, Todd Smola, for a $50,000 earmark, state earmark, that paid for critical improvements to our senior center. Such improvements include a new roof, a new hot water heater, and much needed maintenance around the property. Thank you, Todd. Let's give him a round of applause. The town was awarded a $200,000 Green Communities grant, which was used for weatherization of the Shepherd Building, weatherization and insulation at the senior center, and a new HVAC unit heat pumps at the senior center. Not only these capital investments prolong the lives of our buildings, but we'll also see savings in energy costs. We are continuing to strategically use grants to offset budget expenses, which will ultimately save you, the taxpayers, money. And we're going to continue to do that. All the departments are working together to continue to get that. We are continuing to, I think she liked that. We are continuing to improve all our town buildings. We have invested $25,000 in a preventative maintenance plan for our buildings. For example, addressing emergency fire exit lighting, code violations, refinishing and repairing flooring, repairs to our fire alarm system at the Shepherd Building, a new coat of paint for the first floor at the Shepherd Building, and electrical wiring of our bay. To commend our Tantasqua for that effort. Thank you, Jeremy. I am pleased to announce that working together, we are now in the strongest financial position the town has seen in the last 20 years, with over $2.4 million in stabilization and over $800,000 in capital stabilization. The budget before you this evening is a culmination of 5 months of hard work and long hours between town departments, the Finance Committee, Capital Planning, the Board of Selectmen, and myself. This is a level services budget, meaning these are the same services as last year, but at today's prices. The FY26 budget, as presented, represents an approximate total increase of 6.8% over the current fiscal year budget. Now, just on the general government side, the budget represents an approximate 6.32% over the current fiscal year. On the regional school district assessment, this represents an approximate 10.56 increase over the current fiscal year. These increases will become challenging in the future, and we must all work together to find solutions to meet these challenges. In the next fiscal year, I will be putting together a task force to help examine three budget busters. Health insurance for our employees and retirees, liability for our workers' comp insurance costs, and utility costs. Those costs soared this year and caused this budget what it is today. And we have to address that issue, and we're going to have and I'm going to assemble a task force to address that issue going into next fiscal year, and I will report back to you at the next annual meeting with their findings. Finally, I'd like to point out that the FY26 budget uses 0 reserves and 0 free cash to balance its budget. Like many other communities in Massachusetts across the state, they're using one-time revenues to balance their books. In Warren, we are not. As a reminder, my door is always open for any resident to stop by, say hello, have a concern, a question. Please do so. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry? One more?
Sorry, we have one more housekeeping thing that we want to address this evening. We'd like to give out a recognition to a town department that has really has brought information to everybody's home. And we're labeling it the Transparency Award this year. And this Transparency Award is going to be given to WCAT 6, Travis Baker and crew. Let's give them a round of applause. Travis and his crew has worked very diligently to cover not only the Board of Selectmen meetings, Finance Committee meetings, Capital Planning Committee meetings, Sewer Commission meetings. He's expanded his outreach of getting these meetings covered. And events, too. We just had a memorial for Don Makowski yesterday. He covered that. That's going to be on WCAT 6 hopefully soon. And he's been bringing this information all to the residents of Warren. So we really appreciate him opening up the town in bringing out more information. I hear that there may be some some shows that are going to be coming on, some different dialogues and discussions. So this is all to get information back to the residents so that they can make informed decisions when they come to town meeting. So Travis and crew, thank you very much on behalf of myself and the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Congratulations to Warren Cat TV and Travis. That's great. It's good to see people being recognized for hard work in the community. Just a few things before we get started also. Again, if you can't hear me, ask me to speak up. If I'm not clear or I'm speaking too fast, ask me to slow down. I will say I'm seeing a lot of new faces here this evening, which is nice to see. Some old faces, to include myself, are here, but it's nice to see that we got a pretty good turnout on a hot day in June. Again, if you want to address the meeting when we have a motion and it's open for discussion, we ask that you please come to the microphone. If you cannot, please stand, speak loudly. I'll recognize you. If I don't see you or if I miss you, just speak up, say, hey, excuse me, because sometimes I can't see all the way in the back, depending on the lighting. And with that being said, one other person I would like to recognize is our town council in case he has to address the town meeting this evening, Mr. Jeffrey Blake from Copeland and Page. So I will make a motion to recognize Mr. Jeffrey Blake from Copeland and Page to address the meeting if called upon to do so. Do I have a second? Motion's made and second, just a simple yea and nay. All in favor? Opposed? No. Great. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move forward with the annual town meeting. Article 1. And all standing and special committees. So moved. Do I have a second? Motion's made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Open the vote, please. 5 seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 2, sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint all necessary town officers not previously chosen by ballot. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Ready, Lori? Open the vote, please. 5 seconds. Close the vote. The motion passes. Whew. Article 3, sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to amend Section 5, Paragraph A of the Personal Bylaw, Attachment A, by amending the hourly rates, schedule, and classifications on the compensation plan as set forth in the Attachment A to this warrant, which can be viewed in the town clerk's office and the town's website at www.warren-ma.gov. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none, open the vote, please. 5 seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Excuse me. Article 4, sponsored by the Highway Surveyor. I move that the town vote to create a new Highway Department payroll line for part-time on-call employees as to see if the town will vote to hire 2 part-time on-call employees at a grade C on the wage scale to assist in new construction projects and to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,833 for compensation for fiscal year 2026. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? I see the highway surveyors coming up, so we'll wait just a second. Mr. Olson?
Jeremy Olson, highway surveyor. Just real brief on this. We do a lot of construction projects in-house that most towns do not do. We have the equipment. Over the years, I've got enough stuff now where we're able to do these big jobs. I need extra bodies just for these short periods of time to get this work done. Extra truck driver, extra operator. It's like I say, it's not a benefit position. We actually already have 2 current employees at this rating to fill this spots. We use them now for the same purpose on call. This just guarantees that I have some money to work with next year to help out with the big construction projects that we do.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing none. Okay, Lori, are you ready? We're going to open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 5-1, which is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $3,478,213 to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officers of the town as provided by General Law, Chapter 41, subsection 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended and raised and appropriate, as may be necessary to defray the expenses of the town for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, as follows. So moved. So I have a motion. So moved. Do I have a second? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to move to your books, and I'm going to go through the books on this section here. So as I'm going to read, like, for instance, Selectman A, if there's something on there that you want to discuss or speak or address, all I ask you to do is yell out, hold. We'll go through every one on 5-1. Once we get to the end, if there's any holds, we'll come back and address the holds, and then we will take a vote on Article 5-1. So in your books, it starts with Selectman A. So I'm going to read the department, and if there's a hold in Selectman A that you want me to come back and address, that you want to address the floor with, let me know. So I'm going to announce Selectman A. Is there a hold? No. We're going to move forward to benefits. Is there a hold? Seeing none? Hearing none? How about debt? I'm sorry, no? We're good. Selectman B? No. Selectman C? Got a hold on Selectman C. Okay? Selectman C, hold. So we're going to continue on, and then we'll come back to that. Selectman D? Finance Committee? Accountant? Assessors? If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow. Treasurer? Tax collector? Town clerk? Planning board? Conservation Commission? Building inspector? Forester? And last, veterans agent. Okay, so we had one hold on 5-1, which was, go back to this, on Selectman C. So the hold is for what and who wanted the hold? Can you address the, right here, ma'am?
Hi, Ann Banville, I'm from Warren. I just have a question. Was this a misprint, or is the town administrator's salary going up 15%?
Board of Selectmen, or anybody like to respond?
Thank you, Ann, for the question. For the last 3 years, I didn't receive a raise. My first contract, which was 3 years, I negotiated it.
Okay. Ms.
I
Banfield?
think it's a shame when they want teachers to settle for 1.5.
Thank you. Anyone else with regards to this hold? No? Do you want to say something? Sorry.
I'll just say that when did we look to hire a town administrator now? 4 years ago? Part of the and I think that's what Jim has done. Over the 4 years or so, 3 years, 4 years, he's brought in a ton of grants. He's created policies for the town. He's cleaned up kind of a lot of the organizational nature of the town. He's really done a lot of good work for us, and I think he's well worth what we pay him.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. So we have a motion and a second to approve 5-1. There's no other questions to be asked about that. We will take a vote on that, and then we will move on to motion 5-2. Everybody's ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote, please. Motion passes. Article 5-2, which is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen also. The motion reads as follows, and this is the second of four. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $3,552,177 for the following sums of monies to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officers of the town as provided by general law, chapter 41, subsection 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, and to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. So again, we're going to go through the book on 5-2, and if there's anything after I read off the department you would like to put a hold on, please signify by saying hold. Animal control. Police department. The fire department. Highway department. Cemetery commissioner. Board of Health. Council on Aging. Libraries. And last, Park and Recreation. No holds. So my apologies because I made a motion and didn't ask for a second. That's okay. I'm actually going to reread the motion again, Jeff. Is that all right? I didn't get a second. I'm just going to reread the motion, folks, because my apologies, I did not call for a second. So 5-2 again is I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,552,177 for the following sums of monies to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officers of the town as provided by general law, chapter 41, subsection 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, and to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. Second? Motion is made and seconded, so there's no discussion or no hold, so we're going to move to a vote. Laura, you ready? Open the vote, please. 5 seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Wow. Motion 5-3, third of four. This is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen also, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $446,936 for the assessment of the Pathfinder Regional Technical Vocational School for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Just jump back to my page. Apologize. Just one second, Jeffrey, am I okay with just the total that I read off that and taking a vote? Do I need to make the breakdown? Do you read the breakdown? I'm okay with the total on this, right? Any discussion that I read in? Yeah, I'm good with that. Just want to make sure. So is there any discussion regarding the Pathfinder amounts? Seeing none. Mr. Super, do you want to address anybody? You're good? Okay, with that being said, we're going to move to a vote. Yes. Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. The motion passes. Article 5-4, which is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums for the FY 2026 Quabog Regional School District's assessment. Warren's minimum local contribution, $3,250,310. The above minimum contribution, $768,919. Transportation, $776,995. Debt services for capital payments, $133,350.76. The Quabog Regional School District's assessment total is $4,929,574.76. And further, that this appropriation shall be reduced by Warren's pro rata share for any state aid for regional transportation allocated to the district in excess of $776,995. Or so moved. Do I have a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this motion? Wow. Seeing none. Okay, we're going to move to a vote. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote, please. Motion passes. I'm good. Go ahead.
Hi, Jason Morgan, Warren School Committee Budget Chair. I'd like to make a motion to take Article 31 out of order.
We have a motion to take Article 31 out of order. Do I have a second? We have a second. Any discussion why? Reason why? No? Anybody asking questions? No. With that being said, this is just going to be a simple nay and yay vote. We're not going to use the clickers. So all those in favor of taking Article 31, correct?
Yes, 31.
31 out of order signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. Not me, no. I'm sorry. I'm just, go ahead.
All right, I'd like to make another motion, please.
Sure,
I'd like
go
to
right
make a motion to postpone Article 31 indefinitely.
I have a motion to postpone Article 31. Is there a second? Second. Motion has been made and second. Again, we're going to take just a nay and yay vote on this one. Is there any discussion? Why? Mr. Duff? I'm sorry. Lori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The school district's budget starts in December, and it runs all the way through even today. There's many steps that go into our budget. Our budget starts with the House budget that gets released sometime late February, early March. The House budget then moves to the Senate budget. Our original budget was based upon the House budget, which was about $300,000 more than it was in the above ask that we had originally. When we got the House budget, transportation reimbursement went up, so we were able to lower the transportation assessment to the town, which brought down the above minimum contribution, which was a good thing for the town. We had a vote at the school committee meeting to lower that assessment that would be put on today's article, or today's agenda in the omnibus. The Senate passed a budget, and we're comfortable with where the Senate budget's numbers are. When we received the House budget was roughly $120,000 less than what the Senate budget is. We had asked the Board of Selectmen, and we worked very closely with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen in both towns. We had asked that our entire school budget, which is required by law, to be put on the omnibus or in the budget book. The Finance Committee put our above minimum from last year in the omnibus, and the Board of Selectmen put an article in the warrant for the additional $88,000 that would encompass our entire school budget as approved by the school committee. When the Senate budget came out with the additional $120,000 in revenue, which part of it was from our Chapter 70 formula and other parts were from charter school reimbursement, it allowed us to not need this additional $88,000 in Article 31 to make our entire budget up. The school committee, the finance boards, superintendent and administration worked very hard to keep a level service budget. It would be easy for us to ask for an additional $88,000. All that we were asking for is for our budget to be presented in its entirety. With the new numbers that we received from the Senate, we do not need the additional $88,000 to fund and properly keep a level service budget with what the school committee presented back in the original budget as the House of Representatives. I can tell you that the school committee works diligently every year, and I know that our school budget is a huge number on the town. I cannot thank the town enough for your continued support. And as we go into budgets, we ask for exactly what we need. With what the Senate has, we do not need this additional $88,000. Would it be nice to have it to add additional things? It absolutely would, but we only ask for exactly what we need. It was the recommendation of the school committee and my recommendation as superintendent of schools and our director of finance, Gonzalez, that we permanently move this off of the agenda because we want the town to know that we work really hard to keep our budget only what we really need. It'd be nice to have additional things, like I said, but we're very conscientious about our local assessments, and we're thankful for the town for your continued support, and we're thankful for our teachers for all they do for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duff. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to move to Article 6. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. I just want to, Ray Capaco, Finance Committee Chair. I'd like to commend the school committee, Steve and the administration, Director Gonzalez. I think they did do a lot of good work this year, and to hold this where the above minimum contribution that the town's providing has finally leveled off, first time in quite a long time, actually. I've been in attendance to 90% or more of the school committee and budget subcommittee meetings over the last 2+ years, and I see the work that they are doing, and I do appreciate it and commend them for their efforts. I'd make an appeal to the town that if you would like to see the school budget, a little bit of assistance towards the school budget in the coming years, to please get in touch with the select board, the finance committee, or if I could dare speak out of turn without checking with Steve and the administration first, please get in touch with them, find out what you can do to appeal to our local, our state representatives. The problem with our school budget is much more so the state, not our local school committee and administration. I think it's important that the school does get the support that the town has given it over the years. I appreciate the town doing that, and I just wanted to publicly say that. Please get in touch with someone to find out how you can appeal to our state representatives to get the relief that we deserve from the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Everybody good now? All right, we're going to move to Article 6, which... Sorry, we did not vote. I'm sorry to speak. We had a motion second on 31. So we have a motion and a second on Article 31. It's been a while. With that being said, are you ready to open the vote? We have a vote? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, voice vote. Voice vote on Article 31, so it's taken out of order. All those in favor of taking Article 31 out of, or not taking out of order, but indefinitely postponing it, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we will move to Article 6, which is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to lease space on and or near a telecommunications tower located at 1621 Southbridge Road, Warren, on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deems appropriate for the purpose of the installation of a public safety communications and related equipment for a period of 3 years, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money to pay for said lease, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute any documents or instruments to carry out purpose of this article. So moved. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion regarding this article? Even? It's not in the motion. So I can read it into the motion? So that's what we're discussing right now. So the figure for this is $23,400. Any discussion regarding this? Again, yes, sir, Mr. Lavoy, Chief? 23,400, Jeff?
Good evening, everyone. Adam Lavoy, Fire Chief. I just want to clarify for everyone, this is not a new installation. This is a renewal of a current lease that we have with that tower. There's 3 towers that make up the system that the police and fire department run on. That was a 3-year lease that's now expired. We have to renew it in order to keep our equipment working. So this is not new installation. It's a new lease. It's a re-up of that exact lease that we currently have.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Correct. Yes, just so we're clear, we are appropriating $23,400 for this article. Seeing no one else, we're ready for... This is a 2/3 vote. Yes, Madeline?
The amount is already in the omnibus budget, so all this is going to do is to approve the selectmen to sign the lease. It's in selectmen's budget.
Which line item, Madeline?
It's already in the selectmen's budget, fire, police, Hampden communication for 23-4. So we've already approved the amount. All this is for is to approve the lease for the
Correct.
selectmen to sign.
So that is correct. So the amount is in the omnibus that's already been approved. So you're basically just approving this to allow the selectmen, to enter into this lease. Okay? Is there any other questions or clarifications on this article? Seeing none. Ready for a vote, Lori? Open the vote, please. 2/3. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 7, sponsored by the Board of Sewer Commissioners. Motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to appropriate a sum or sums of money to operate the sewer enterprise fund as shown below. Commissioner's salary, $4,500. Debt services, $21,293. Wages, $338,267.70. Purchase services, $216,579.75. Purchase services, $113,435.32. Total operating and management, $694,075.74. And the $694,075.74 is to be raised as follows. $604,075.74 from the sewers receipt account and $90,000 from the sewers retained earnings account, totaling $694,075.74. Total operating and management is $694,075.74. Estimated indirect cost calculation, $183,827.58. Need to raise total, $877,903.32. And that the $183,827.58 already appropriated in the general fund to be funded by the sewer receipt account. Whew. Motion's been, can I have a second? Motion's made second. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Are you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 8, sponsored by the Board of Sewer Commissioners. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from the sewer retained earnings the sum of $17,800 to refurbish the rotating biological contactor or operational status, to operational status as mandated by the Department of Environmental Protection. So moved. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Okay, you ready, Lori? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. The motion passes. Article 9, sponsored by the Board of Sewer Commissioners. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from sewer retained earnings the sum of $47,000 to purchase and install 2 wet end pump impellers and bearing assemblies for the primary pumps. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Ready, Lori? Open the vote. You're open. You're good, right? Okay. 5 seconds. Sorry. Close it. Motion passes. Article 10, sponsored by the town administrator. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $25,000 into the OPEB trust fund, other post-employment benefits. I have a motion, so moved. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 11, again sponsored by the town administrator. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $25,000 to continue to fund maintenance of the town levy system for the purpose of keeping the town in compliance with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers mandates. Motion's been made. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote. Five seconds. Close the vote. The motion passes. Article 12, sponsored by the town administrator. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $25,000 to fund the ongoing maintenance and repairs to town buildings. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 13, sponsored by the town administrator. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 to fund an annual stipend for the facilities custodian, $300 for a uniform allowance, and $700 for the use of their personal vehicle to and from 5 municipal buildings. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article?
Just out of curiosity, what are the 5 municipal buildings?
Can you stand? All right, go.
What are the 5 municipal buildings?
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Ann. So that would be the police station, the fire station A, senior center, the sewer treatment plant, and the highway garage. Shepherd Building is his home base. That's where his home base is.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, John?
Travel reimbursement? I mean, everybody uses travel reimbursement, so mileage and wear and tear and that.
What this would allow us to do, and what I've asked Mike to do, is to keep a log of his mileage from going to and from buildings. He carries maintenance equipment in his personal vehicle. He carries supplies in his personal vehicle. So I've asked him to keep a log starting July 1, if this was to pass, of mileage going to and from. So then we estimate that this is the mileage that he's going to need to get him through at least until next year. So we'll monitor it through the log, and we'll see how it progresses.
Thank you. Anyone? Yes, ma'am?
The sewer department, isn't that like a whole separate entity or no?
That is a town building, okay? And we still, work to maintain the town building.
Anyone else? Oh, okay. Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion passes. Article 14, sponsored by the Board of Assessors and the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22J, which authorizes an annual increase in the amount of the exemption granted to eligible veterans under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22, Clause 22A, Clause 22B, Clause 22C, Clause 22E, and Clause 22F by 20% of the personal exemption amount, subject to the conditions of Clause 22J, to be effective for the applicable exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2025. Do I have a second? We have a second. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Hello, sir.
Ray Capaco. Mr. Moderator, I have a few questions before I have my comments that I'd like to have answered. How much is it estimated that this would cost the town?
I'm looking, is there anybody can? Yes, ma'am.
At this current time, it would probably cost the town about $7,580, but it's hard to say exactly how much it would cost due to veterans changing their eligibilities and veterans moving into town, veterans who may pass away. For an exact number would be hard to give.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
And secondly, where does this money come from out of the budget?
That money would have to be added to the overlay account, which is used for paying abatements and exemptions.
Thank you.
And while, of course, I know the answer to that question, I'd like if the overlay account could be explained to the town.
The overlay account is the account that is budgeted every year. Usually it's a 5-year average that is given for abatements and exemptions that the town has granted.
Sir?
So just for clarification, it's not an appropriated amount it's not a line item in the budget. It happens when tax rates are set, and it's just it's a formulaic function that happens during the tax rate setting portion of the assessor's office in the fall. Did any of the selectmen contact the veterans agent regarding this?
Gentlemen? Looks.
It was a question for the selectmen. It was a question for the selectmen.
No.
Why not?
This was proposed by the Board of Assessors, so we took their expertise on this matter because it's a tax matter.
Okay, could I hear from the Board of Assessors?
I did contact the director, I did speak to her about it, and she was aware of it. We spoke about it when the HERO Act was first approved in July by the governor.
Thank you.
And is the Veterans Agent supportive or not?
She was supported at the time when I spoke with her about it.
I don't believe that's true at this time, but I won't say more about that because that was a conversation and she's not here. Okay, enough of that. I would like to just say, first of all, the selectmen were in favor of this. They're the ones who put it on the warrant. And for them not to have spoken to the Veterans Agent directly and gotten something more than just a sense from the Board of Assessors, I believe is inappropriate. Now for my comments. I'm in opposition to this motion because I'm against, not because I'm against supporting disabled veterans or their families, just the opposite. My father, my brother, and my son are all veterans. There's an inherent inequity to a local enactment of this legislation in that it is only of benefit to disabled veterans who are homeowners. A minority of those served by the town's Veterans Agent are homeowners. The HERO Act is an acronym for the legislation's title, an act honoring, empowering, and recognizing our service members and veterans. We should do this for all of our veterans, not for the select few that are fortunate enough to own a home. How does it make sense to increase the town's support for a relatively small number of disabled veterans, the homeowners, while simultaneously reducing funding to the veterans' expense line item? Not passing this article will not take anything away from the current benefits that are available through the Veterans Exemption Program. I encourage the town to not enact this inequitable tax relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Seeing none? Laura, are you ready? Sorry. Just a second.
I will just say, thank you, Dario. I will just say the HEROES Act is a local adoption. Many communities across the Commonwealth, this is a state law that allowed local communities across the Commonwealth to adopt this local exemption. And with that initiative, it would allow our veterans, disabled veterans, who are homeowners, to have an additional benefit. We have quite a few veterans here in town that are homeowners that would have a benefit to this. We recommended a 20%, this can go all the way up to 100% of the town taking the cost. We initially wanted to roll out this program at a 20% to see if veterans would be taking advantage of this and to see what the impact would be on our budget. This is an incentive that we could give potentially to our veterans who are in need.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Laura, are you ready? I'm ready. Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. The motion is defeated. Article 15 is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $21,693 to pay for an out-of-district vocational student's tuition for the 2025-2026 school year. Motion, do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 16 is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $49,800 to pay for an out-of-district vocational students' transportation for the 2025-26 school year. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Oh, thank you. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion here passes. Article 17, sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote an excess portion of any state aid for regional school transportation be reduced by Warren's pro rata share for the school transportation allocated to the district in excess of $796,995. Lori? So moved. Jeffrey, do we change this?
But
Seven?
Dario,
I'm sorry, I have 7 in my motion, 766.
but I thought we already voted. I thought you voted on it.
I have 766 on the motion. Lori, what do you have? Yep.
Yeah.
Which is what I read. My motion reads as 766,995. Is that what you have? And 766,995, that's the motion. Okay? You have it, I have it. That's what's in the book, 766, we're good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Is there any discussion regarding this article?
Yes, me.
Go
We
right
already
ahead.
voted on this.
I'm sorry?
When you read the motion for Quabog, you already voted on it. That was part of the,
I know, I understand that. I did question that today, I'm sorry.
that was in
This,
the motion
this
for
is
Quabog.
just, this,
I
I don't know if Jim wants to speak to it. My understanding, Madeline, I questioned the town administrator on this earlier, why this article had to be in, because it was in the omnibus, and it does state the pro rata share. I'm not really sure, and I don't know if. Correct. So I don't think we need this. IP it? Pass over? Indefinitely postpone? Yes, so Madeline, our finance committee person, Madeline is correct. This amount was voted in the motion that I read back in the omnibus budget, so it does not need to be taken up. So we're going to indefinitely postpone this. There's no need to take a vote on it. I'm going to take a roll call vote on the indefinite postpone. Just a roll call. I'm not going to do it with the. This is just going to be a yes and a no. It's not going to be through the. So I need a. The motion's been made and seconded. Thank you very much, Madeline. Any discussion why we're indefinitely postponing this? Is it clear? It's already been voted on? Good. There is, do you have something to say, sir? Or do you want to comment? I heard somebody.
Within the fiscal report that you read off, under the capital payment total, 776,995 was allocated. Within your motion, you wrote down 766. Why is there a $10,000 difference?
I think he's reading the wrong number. I think it's, he read capital assessment, he's read regional transportation.
It was a typo, and you're not voting on it.
Voting to kill this, what we voted on earlier was correct. Right, so what we voted on earlier was correct. This motion should not have been in. This doesn't need to be in. So what was voted earlier, the amount you just read, is correct. This doesn't need to be read in. I did question this earlier, but we don't need this to be in the town meeting. It doesn't need to be voted on. So there's been a motion to indefinitely postpone this, and it's been seconded. This is just going to be a simple yes and no. I'm just going to call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Phew, boy. Move on. Article 18, this is sponsored by the treasurer, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to reauthorize the spending limits in the following funds. Revolving fund, fiscal year spending limit. Building department, $35,000 with any balance in excess of $1,000 remaining in said fund to close of fiscal year to be returned to the general fund. Town clerk, $2,000 with the balance in excess of $500 remaining in said fund at the close of the fiscal year to be returned to the general fund. Board of Health, plumbing and gas inspectors, 1/2 the fees from inspections to limit of $7,000 with any balance in excess of $1,000 remaining in said fund at close of fiscal year to be returned to the general fund. Board of Health perk tests, Title V inspections, $6,000 with any balance in excess of $1,000 remaining in said fund at the close of the fiscal year to be returned to the general fund. So moved, but this is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. My apologies. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Do I have a second? Yes. Any discussion? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? I'm ready. Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 19, sponsored by the treasurer. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town accept accounts in trust, the income of which is to be expended for the perpetual care maintenance of burial plots at Pine Grove Cemetery for certain individuals for the 1909 plan of said cemetery. Name Lori Butane, Section F, Lot 34 and 35, $600. Magdalene and John Bish, Section F, Lot 27C and 27D, $600. Andrew and Carol Vanderberg, Section F, Lot 27A and 27B, $600. Lori? Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to comment how well Pine Grove is kept up.
Great.
Really credit to the town and whoever's running it.
That's excellent. Glad to hear it. It's good for good news. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Are you ready? Yes. 19. Open the vote. Open. 5 seconds. Close the vote, please. Motion carries. Article 20, sponsored by the treasurer. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to authorize the treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements during fiscal year 2026 as permitted by General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F. Do I have a second? Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Lori, ready? Open the vote. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 21, sponsored by the Board of Health. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $30,000 to cover the cost for the installation of 6 new gas monitoring ports at the transfer station in accordance with the Department of Environmental Protection requirements. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Laura, you ready? Open the vote. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 22, sponsored by the Highway Surveyor. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from receipts reserved for appropriation Highway Equipment Fund the sum of $15,000 to the highway surplus and auction line item account. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Seeing none. Are you ready? Open the vote, please. 5 seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 23, this is a two-thirds vote, ladies and gentlemen, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $30,000 to establish a special stabilization account for the replacement of the town's current street sweeper for the highway department. So moved. Do I have a second? Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion regarding this motion?
Would you repeat the amount?
The amount is $30,000, and it is a two-thirds vote because it's creating, I believe it's creating a stabilization account for this, correct? It's creating a new stabilization account for equipment. Yes, Mr. Olson?
Jeremy Olson, Highway Surveyor. Just real quick, our current sweeper is a 1994, very, very, very well-used machine. We've been using it the last several weeks, plus we used it 5-6 weeks this spring. It's a very dirty, nasty machine to run because of the age. It is definitely not a very healthy thing to run, which is why we need to replace this relatively soon. So this is just the first step in replacing that machine, and I just hope you have your support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, this is a two-thirds requirement for this to create the stabilization. Lori, you set? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. The motion carries. Passes. Motion carries. Okay. Article 24, again, is sponsored by the Highway Surveyor, and this is a two-thirds vote also. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $45,000 to establish a special stabilization account for the purchase of a Class 6 dump truck for the Highway Department. So moved. Do I have a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this motion? This is a two-thirds vote. As a reminder again, it's creating another stabilization. Okay, Lori, you all set? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Yes. Motion carries, right? Two-thirds? Yes. Okay, thank you. Article 25 is sponsored by the Police Department. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $35,000 to establish a special stabilization account for the replacement of a police cruiser for the Police Department. Lori? Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion regarding this motion? You want to speak, Chief? You can if you want, Chief. Come on up.
This is just a setup, we have cruisers coming up, it's got over 90,000 miles now, it's due for replacement at the end of the year. This is to set up the account for that replacement later on in the year, which I'll have come forward to get the additional.
Thank you, Chief. You know, folks, it is a good practice to establish these stabilizations and start saving for major capital purchases. In the past, we have always tried to fund these in different ways, but I credit the board and finance and that for doing this. So it is a good way to be doing these things, for my 2 cents. This is a two-thirds vote. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. Laura, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 26, sponsored by the Fire Department, and the motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $10,000 to establish a special stabilization account for the replacement of the hydraulic extrication equipment for the Fire Department. This, so moved. Do I have a second? Second. This is a two-thirds vote also. Chief Lavoie, would you like to address the meeting?
Good evening, everyone, again. These next few are capital planning projects that we've had planning for the last couple of years. This particular project will allow us to start replacing some of our older extrication equipment which we use for car accidents, to access cars that have been in accidents, get people out. This will allow us to take our hydraulic equipment out of service and replace it with new technology battery equipment, which is very dependable and reliable nowadays. This reduces our points of failure with our hydraulic equipment. You have power units, you have hydraulic lines, all of those can fail. Battery units, the technology out there today, it's really one point, it's the battery itself. The tools are very strong, so this will allow us to move in that direction.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 27, sponsored by the Fire Department. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from capital stabilization the sum of $50,000 to establish a special stabilization account for the replacement of the town's ambulance for the Fire Department. Again, this is a 2/3 vote. Do I have, Lori? So moved. Do I have a second? Motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this? Chief LaVoy?
Our current ambulance is coming up on 3 years old. We've been replacing them regularly at 7 years. Unfortunately, the backlog of ordering these vehicles are 2 to 3 years out at this point, so we're starting this program early so we can start getting some funding in there to make sure that we replace this vehicle on time. We do so many more calls nowadays, it already has 50,000 miles on it right now at 3 years. It's supposed to last to 7. So we're trying to make sure we're in line for that proper replacement.
Hey, Chief, can I ask you the cost of a new ambulance?
This last one we paid was $350,000. I would imagine that a new one's going to be right in that ballpark, if not closer to 4. So that's why we're starting this early, to make sure we can fund that.
Thank you.
That project.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 28, sponsored by the Fire Department also. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from capital stabilization the sum of $50,000 to the Fire Engine Number 2 Special Stabilization Account for the replacement of Engine Number 2 for the Fire Department. Motion's been made and seconded. Chief LaVoy?
This would be the second installment of payments for this project. This is already a project that's in the works. Engine number 2 is a 2001 American LaFrance. It's almost 25 years old. We replace them usually 25, 30 years. That's a long life for a fire truck if they've been properly maintained. So we're planning ahead on this. It's an expensive purchase. We know that, so that's why we're trying to do this over several years.
Thank you, Chief. Again, this is a 2/3 vote. Is there anyone else? Oh. I'm sorry, you are correct. Thank you for correcting that. It is coming out, you're right. It is a majority vote. Anyone else? Seeing none. Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 29, sponsored by the Fire Department. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $33,000 and the sum of $7,000 from the capital stabilization to the Fire Department Structural Turnout Gear Special Stabilization Account for the replacement of turnout gear. Do I have a second? Motion's made and seconded. Chief LaVoy?
This is also an existing capital planning project. We put an allotment of about, I believe, $40,000. This is to replace all of the firefighters' turnout gear. We're required to do that every 10 years. We're about 5 to 6 years into the life of the current gear that they wear, so we're planning ahead to make sure that we have at least a year buffer, because it takes almost a year to order this gear and get it in and get it made. They're custom made for each firefighter. So this will allow us to stay in line with that, to make sure we're replacing on time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Laura, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article 30, sponsored by the Park and Recreation Department. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $12,000 to pay for hosting fiscal year 2026 fireworks organized by the Parks and Recreation Department. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? Yay, fireworks. Okay. Seeing none, Lori, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. Okay, Article 32. 31 we passed over. Article 32 is sponsored by the Cable Advisory Committee. The motion reads as follows. I move that the town vote to appropriate $30,000 from the PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund as authorized by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, 3/4, as amended to fund PEG access programming, as well as certain other municipal cable-related expenses for the fiscal year 2026. Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this article? 30,000. Anyone? Seeing none? Okay, Laura, you ready? Open the vote, please. Five seconds. Close the vote. Motion carries. And that, 1 second, folks. Board of Selectmen would like to speak.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. You've probably heard, read, seen on the internet that we're looking at a public safety complex. In 2 weeks, June 26th, we will be here at 6 o'clock for our second informational meeting. The consultant that worked on the study will be here to present some information, and we want to have a discussion with all of you. This is something that the town needs to decide, not us. We all need to talk about it and decide, so please, if you can come Thursday, the 26th, in 2 weeks, here at 6 p.m. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming out. That concludes the meeting. I will entertain a motion to dissolve. So move. Seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.